The next act is the story of an Indonesian student who has always learned about the story of the Dutch colonization in Indonesia from a one-sided perspective. In Calvin College, however, he learned the other side of the story. There are three main themes. 1. Breaking the silence of untold stories. 2. The Ministry of Reconciliation between the Indonesians and the Dutch. And 3. The emphasis on the subject being the whole of humanity and not just one group of people against the other. History is not just about the struggle between the evil and the good, or the winner and the loser. It is about God's redemptive actions through humans to reconcile the brokenness of this world. We hope that this act will be a conversation starter among the Calvin community. In fact, the Indonesians would like to invite whoever would like to continue this conversation to their fellowship meeting in 2 weeks. Details about the meeting will be provided after the act.
August 17th, 2000. Dear friend, this is my story.
Opa.
That is what I used to call my grandpa. He was a teacher in the village. His students, his neighbors, everyone liked him. His dreams were at hand. Then something changed Opa's life forever. It was 1945. He had to lay down his books and take up arms. Indonesia, my homeland, was in need of young men to fight off the shackles of Dutch colonialism. By 1950, it was all over. Broken, shattered, Opa had to start his life anew. He had to survive, collecting scraps to feed his wife and children. Dreams were forgotten. May 2nd, 2007. Dear friend, this is my story. I was 15 years old, naive and innocent. In school, we were taught that our country wasn't ours for more than 300 years. In the 16th century, the visitors came from a land far across the sea. They took one look at it and lusted after our exotic land. First, it was just for the spices, but they wanted more, and more. Over Zeze Gebieden, overseas territories, is what we were called by the Dutch.
Ibarat kelapa, kita diperes sampai nggak ada lagi santan yang keluar selama ratusan tahun.
My teacher said, I wonder, how different would it be if the visitors never came? What if Opa had the chance to pursue the dreams of his youth? Why did they have to be so greedy? Why? I was 15 years old, naive, but no longer innocent. November 22nd, 2013. Dear friend, this is my story. 10,000 miles away from home, Calvin College. Here I come.
Did you watch the football game last night?
Yeah, that last goal was awesome.
Goal? You mean touchdown?
Huh?
Oh. Never mind.
Okay, let me get some water. Do you want some?
I'm good.
Does that mean yes?
Sure? Sure, thanks.
Okay.
Hi, Opa. How are you? Yeah? Yeah, I'm having lunch. Will do. Love you too, Opa.
Hey, were you talking to your grandpa?
Yeah, how did you know?
Oh, Opa is how we say grandpa in Indonesian. Do you speak Indonesian?
No, but Opa is grandpa in Dutch, too.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my Opa lived in Indonesia.
No, I didn't know the other side of the story.
I didn't know. I've never bothered to know about the Indonesians.
I didn't know your grandfather was a soldier in Indonesia.
I didn't know your Opa suffered so much because of the war where my grandfather was one of the soldiers.
But neither did I know that
My parents.
were actually born in my homeland, that they also call it theirs, that
My Opa.
was traumatized after the war ended.
Nightmares haunted him day and night. To this day, he trembles at the thought of it.
All this time, I thought the Indonesians were the only victims. Has this bitterness blinded me from seeing another's pain? What of your Opa suffering?
The soldiers who returned from Indonesia talked very little about their experiences. It just wasn't done. There was a lot of discussion of, is it justified for us to be here?
My parents and I and my brothers lived in Indonesia for another 8 years after I was born. Then we moved to the Netherlands and lived there for about 5 years. At that point, my parents decided it's just a little bit too cold and wet and crowded here, having grown up in Indonesia. Because they grew up they were both born in Indonesia. I would like to revisit my little brother's grave. My little brother is buried in Indonesia, right outside the town of Palembang.
Nggak usah supir, tuannya sendiri supir. Lantaran dia mau duduk, saya duduk sebelahnya gitu. Barangkali dia suka sama saya, ya. Dan sudah pulang ke rumah dia, kira-kira 2 jam driving. Dan dari itu terus kawin, anak lahir di Indonesia 3.
For Christians, racial reconciliation is, in my estimation, the most important thing to do. We don't have all the answers. You only have to look around.
Dear friends, is this my story? Indonesia, many different peoples, 17,500 islands, 583 languages, distanced and separated. What brought us together? Who brought us together? We became united through the presence of the Dutch, a common enemy.
Enemies in the past, but
Friends in the present.
dear friends,
This is our story. The story of how I becomes we. The soldiers and the Western imperialists are we. The victims of imperialism are we. We, not they, have been cruel. We, not they, have done wrong things. We, not they, have experienced sufferings and injustice. It is we who need to repent, to forgive, and to love. What is your story?